What makes a community trauma informed? What does it matter? What happens if we aren't trauma informed and work in a trauma informed manner? All these questions and more will be looked at today as we enter the meditation chamber. Welcome to Season 2 of the Meditation Chamber podcast. I'm your host, Bob Wade, licensed master social worker and spiritual life coach. If this is your first time with us, welcome. This show is dedicated to providing you with quality entertainment and information that can help you live a more empowered life. This season, we're going to expand the types of episodes that we're going to present. These episodes will be about spiritual matters, and I'll explain more about that in just a moment. Don't stop yet because you think spiritual is religious. It doesn't necessarily mean that way, and we'll be back to that in a moment. We'll also have true crime and paranormal episodes, as well as mental health deep dive episodes, just like we did in the first season of the audio podcast. Now, as far as spirituality goes, spirituality is something that others can see as being religious. And for me, that's not really the case. Spiritual means that we're searching for a deeper meaning to our lives. It's looking for a purpose that is higher than ourselves. Some will find it in religion, and that's true. Some will. Some will find it when they're walking in nature. And then some will find it in the concept of the universe and how the universe takes care of us and we take care of the universe. Wherever we find our meaning, I want us to expand our knowledge of each other and build a positive trauma-informed community on the internet. There's enough negatives in this world. I want to build something positive, and I want you to come along for the ride with me. Now, I'll also drop guided meditations and contemplative prayers so that we can use them to help gain some calm in our stressful lives. And we'll talk more about that as the season goes on. I will also film these talks and post them on my YouTube channel, Mindful Life Transformations. So if you like watching these videos, do the videos, you can also catch these on your favorite podcast platform. Now, before we take our deep dive, here is a new segment called our weekly dose of the weird and wonderful. An AirAsia flight was diverted after passengers spotted a snake on their plane. And this is a report from NPR that came on February the 11th of this year. In a video shared by TikTok, user EDAL8808, yes, it's Idal 8808, what appears to be a long snake can be seen slithering through an overhead flight fixture. In the caption, the user wrote that the flight, which was headed from the Malaysian capital city of Kuala Lumpur to, I guess it's Tawau? Pardon me if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, I'm sorry. Had to instead make an emergency landing in Kuching. The security officer for the flight said that AirAsia is aware of the incident that occurred on the flight from Kuala Lumpur. As soon as the captain was notified, the plane was diverted to be disinfected. Now, passengers were able to continue their journey to Tawau the same day, and there were no reports of Samuel L. Jackson being on the plane saying that he was tired of these mother trucking snakes on this mother trucking plane. Now on to our deep dive, creating a trauma-informed community. And yes, I am reading my script. So when a person experiences a traumatic event, adrenaline rushes through the body and a mental photograph is imprinted onto the amygdala. The amygdala then holds the emotion and the picture together. So therefore, whenever the person is triggered by sight, smell, or whatever, the picture is brought up with the emotion, triggering the fight, flight, freeze, or appease because the amygdala activates the limbic system. So really, this makes trauma a bodily dysfunction as well as a mental health issue. Also, when this happens, the response can cause the prefrontal cortex to shut down. The prefrontal cortex, which is right here, And you can also think of it as being right here behind your forehead. Now, when that shuts down, that's pretty important because the prefrontal cortex acts as the brakes of the brain. So, in other words, when you are thinking of saying something that may or may not go over well, the prefrontal cortex is that little voice you hear in your head going, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. And it also acts as the rational brain. You can think of it that way as well. So in effect, reason and rationality shuts down and the body is put into survival mode. This is the reason why survivors of trauma can't just get over it or rise above what happened to them, because their body is physically working against them. Therefore, some can feel they are a victim, and just telling them they aren't doesn't do much good and can in all reality be harmful. They need outside help many times to overcome what has happened to them. They need us to be understanding and compassionate. So how can we help? Well, I'm glad you asked. First, we listen to what they need and we take them seriously. We don't second guess them because that can seem like judgment. We don't tell them what they should do. The last thing they need is advice. Advice is for the professionals, people like me who are trained in trauma response and trauma-informed care. They just need you to be there, be a presence for them. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. And remember, if what you do isn't helpful, apologize. That goes a long way to building that trust that they need. And then you let them make their own choices. Because that traumatic event can make them feel like they have no control over their lives. And the more control that they can feel they have, the better off they are. So next, help take care of their physical needs. Help take care of their pets. Look up a doctor and give them a ride to an appointment. Make phone calls for them if they need you to. Check in on them and make sure they feel safe. Make them food. Take them food. Don't expect them to be happy all the time. Cry with them if they need you to cry with them. But more importantly, be present. Be there for them. Go for a walk together. Now, while you don't expect them to be sad all the time, don't expect them, while you don't expect them to be happy all the time, don't expect them to be sad all the time either. They'll have times of feeling good and bad. If they need you to stay up with them and listen to them, do it. Laugh with them. Remind them that they are not responsible for what happened to them. One of the other podcasts I listened to, the Preacher Boys podcast, they posted an episode on the 24th of April, 2022, and it was showing a pastor who was basically using a Bible story and blaming the victim of a rape in the Bible story for what happened to them. Well, that's not what happened, and that's not, if you do any reading of that story with any type of constructive criticism, you can tell that's not what they said. And that's not what they were doing. The person who committed the rape is responsible, not the person who was raped. The person who has the traumatic event happen to them is not responsible. It's the person who commits the act that's responsible. Now remember to normalize and validate their feelings. Don't use platitudes. Don't say, well, all things work out in time, or time heals all wounds, because nobody cares about that crap. They want you to just listen. They don't want you to use cliches. Now, the power of presence. And in the Christian Bible, in the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 3, it says, I am with you in weakness and in fear and trembling. Now, Lao Tzu said, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while being deeply loved by someone gives you courage. Both of these quotes speak of the power of presence. The power of presence means we help people even when it might make us feel uncomfortable. And this community, this channel will all be based on the power of presence. I want to build a safe space on the internet to help people when life is hard. I want them to have a place of refuge. Some will say, well, God is their refuge, and that's true, but that's a platitude. So shut it. And people can use the divine to get their help. But people are used by the divine to help others. That's what we're here for. If you don't show you care, no one will believe you care. And showing you care is not just the people you like. It's everyone. Stand with them during their fear and their anxiety. And when we do that, we help them rebuild their lives, leaving behind any shame and the feelings of being a victim. And we do that by listening to what they need, helping them with their physical needs, and being there for them. Once again, I want this channel to be trauma-informed and welcoming to all. If you would like to be a part of it, hit that like and subscribe, and then ring the mindful bell for notifications of when new videos are uploaded. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, be sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review. Join me on all of my social media for affirmations and also short guided meditations, affirmations, things like that. Let's make social media more positive. Those links are going to be in the description below. Now, in the Buddhist tradition, I do offer these talks for free. If you feel led to donate and support the show, the links are also in the descriptions. Until next time, this is Bob with Mindful Life Transformations, reminding you to stay awesome.